Hello, my friend. Welcome to this powerful and inspiring journey. Today, I'm going to tell you a real story, not a fiction, not a movie, but a story of how one man, one idea, and one family built the biggest car company in the world. Yes, I'm talking about Toyota. But this is not just a business story. It's a story about struggles that will break your heart, decisions that change the world, dreams that refuse to die, and lessons that will stay with you for life. In this story, you will learn how to build something from zero, how to survive failure, war, betrayal, and poverty, how to think like a leader, and how to stay humble when you reach the top. And not only that, you will also improve your English, because this story is told in simple, emotional, clear English. So even if you're a beginner, you can enjoy every word and feel more confident at the end. So take a deep breath, close all distractions, and listen to the story that changed the car industry and inspired the world. Part 1. The beginning before the beginning. Before there was Toyota. Before there were cars in Japan. Before the world knew about Toyota Corolla or Land Cruiser or Prius, there was a little boy named Sakichi Toyoda. Yes, this story doesn't begin with Toyota the company. It begins with Sakichi Toyoda, the father of the Toyota family. Sakichi Toyoda was born in a small village called Kosai in Shizuoka, Japan, in the year 1867. Just 2 years after the end of Japan's feudal era. His family was poor. His father was a carpenter. There was no electricity, no cars, no factories, only rice fields, wood, and survival. But even as a little boy, Sakichi had one strange quality. He loved machines. While other kids played with toys, Sakichi would sit and look at how things worked. One day, he saw his mother using a wooden hand loom to weave cloth. It was slow. It was tiring. It broke easily. And Sakichi thought, what if I can build something better? That was the first spark, his first invention. At age 18, Sakichi Toyoda began building something with his bare hands. He had no engineering degree. He had no rich mentor. He had no modern tools. He only had a dream: to build a better life for people through machines. By age 23, he built his first improved wooden hand loom. It was faster, easier, and made better cloth. People in the village were shocked. How did this boy build a machine? But Sakichi was not satisfied. He kept improving, year after year, failure after failure. In 1891, Sakichi got his first patent, a legal right to call the invention his own. This was a big deal in Japan. He called it the Toyota Wooden Hand Loom. Soon after, he opened his first small factory in Nagoya. He started hiring people. He was no longer just a dreamer. He was now an inventor, leader, and builder. By 1906, Sakichi created something that changed Japan forever: the automatic power loom. This loom could stop automatically if a thread broke, something never seen before. It saved time. It saved cloth. It was revolutionary. And here's something important. This automatic stopping system would later become a key idea in Toyota cars. A system where machines could stop when something was wrong. Even in weaving, Sakichi was building the future of safety. Sakichi had a son. His name was Kichiro Toyoda, born in 1894. Kichiro grew up watching his father work hard, fail, build again, fail again, and keep moving. He didn't just inherit his father's name. He inherited the fire, the mind, and the mission. Kichiro was smart, but he didn't want to stay in the past. He wanted to go beyond weaving. He wanted something new. In 1921, Kiichiro Toyota traveled to London, England. He saw something that would change his life forever. Not looms, not threads, but cars. People driving cars, fixing cars, loving cars. He thought, why don't we build cars in Japan? But there was a problem. In Japan at that time, there were almost no Japanese cars. People imported expensive cars from the West. No one believed Japan could build its own automobile industry. But Kiichiro believed. He came back to Japan with one mission. I will build a Japanese car in Japan by Japanese hands for the Japanese people. In 1929, Sakichi Toyota, the father, was getting old. Kiichiro had a dream, to build cars, but he needed money. So they made the biggest decision of their life. They sold the patent rights of the automatic loom to a British company. How much? $150,000, which is over $2.5 million in today's value. This money was not used to grow the loom business. It was not used for luxury. It was used for one crazy idea. Let's build a car company in Japan, from scratch. Inside Toyota Automatic Loom Works, a new department was created, the Automobile Division. It was just a small room with a small team and a big dream. Nobody believed in them. People laughed. People said, Japan will never compete with Ford or GM. But Kiichiro didn't care. He said, if we don't start now, we'll always be behind. After 2 years of trial and error, failure and learning, in 1935, they completed their first car, the Toyota A1, with a truck version called G1. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't beautiful, but it was Japanese, self-built, real. It didn't look modern, it didn't have luxury, it didn't have the shine of American cars, but it had something more important. A Japanese soul, built by Japanese minds, using Japanese tools for Japanese roads. And Kiichiro Toyota knew this was just the beginning. But they still didn't have a real car company. They were still just a small department inside a textile company. That had to change. In August 1937, Kiichiro Toyota officially separated the car-making department from the loom company. He founded a new company, Toyota Motor Company Limited. But wait, did you notice something strange? Their family name was Toyota. So why was the company called Toyota? There were two big reasons. One, in Japanese script, Toyota uses 8 strokes, and 8 is considered a lucky number in Japanese culture. It means growth, success, and prosperity. 2. Toyota was easier to pronounce and write in other languages. Kiichiro wanted the company to feel modern, international, and clean. And so, with a simple change of a letter, a brand was born. Toyota. Let's be honest. Starting a car company in 1937 Japan was almost impossible. Japan had no experience in automobile engineering. They had to import car parts from foreign countries. People were poor. Few could afford a car. They had no customer base and no trust. People still believed American cars were better. Most people thought Toyota would fail within a year. But Kiichiro Toyota had something more powerful than confidence. He had conviction. He believed. We don't need to be the best right now. We just need to begin. So, they hired local talent. They trained workers who had never seen a car engine before. They built tools by hand. They used trial and error every single day. And slowly, brick by brick, engine by engine, the company began to breathe. Kiichiro Toyota now made a huge decision. He would build Toyota's first dedicated automobile factory in Koromo, Aichi Prefecture. This was more than just a building. It was a symbol of belief. a belief that Japan could stand on its own wheels. This plant would later become the Toyota headquarters in the city, now renamed Toyota City in honor of the company. Now here's something game-changing. To survive and compete, Toyota needed a way to build cars without wasting time, money, or space. So Kiichiro introduced a new idea, just-in-time manufacturing. What did it mean? Don't stock too many parts. Only make or bring what you need, when you need it. This reduces waste, saves money, and increases speed. This system would later become the Toyota production system, copied by companies around the world. It's not just about cars. It's about efficiency, discipline, and respect for time. But just when Toyota was learning to walk, the world started to fall apart. In 1939, World War II began. By 1941, Japan entered the war. Everything changed. Toyota was forced to stop making cars for people. They had to start making military trucks and vehicles for war. Resources were low. Rubber and metal were hard to find. Bombings and destruction were everywhere. And yet, Toyota kept going. Even with fear, even with chaos. They made trucks with only one headlight to save metal. They made vehicles with wooden parts because rubber was not available. It wasn't about profit. It was about survival. In August 1945, the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. The war ended. The country was destroyed. And Toyota? It was almost dead. Their factories were damaged. Their employees were jobless. The government stopped funding car companies. People were starving. Who needed a car? For many companies, this was the end. But for Toyota, it was the beginning of their true test. Toyota tried to rebuild. They created a small car called the SA, a tiny family vehicle. They also started working on buses and trucks to generate income. But the company was losing money fast. Very fast. By 1949, Toyota was in debt. They couldn't pay salaries. They had to borrow money from banks just to stay alive. That year, Toyota made only 300 trucks. Compare that to Ford or GM, who made hundreds of thousands. Everyone said, Toyota is finished. They had a dream, but it's over. And then, this was the darkest moment in Toyota's history. In early 1950, the company was forced to make a painful decision. They laid off 1,600 workers, around 25% of the company. The employees were angry. There were strikes, protests, and walkouts. The dream was shaking. And Kiichiro Toyota, the founder, the dreamer, he blamed himself. He felt he had failed his father's legacy. He felt he had failed his team. He said, if my decisions cause pain to my people, I must step down. And so he did. In June 1950, Kiichiro Toyota resigned as president of Toyota. Just months later, he died of a stroke. He was only 57 years old. He never got to see what his dream would become. But his dream was not dead. This is where real legends are born, not in victory, but in failure, pain, and loss. Toyota was broken. Its founder was gone. Japan was in ruins. But something was still alive inside that company. A belief that we don't stop here. Part 2. The comeback nobody believed in. After Kiichiro Toyota's death, Toyota was like a ship without a captain. There was no clear leadership. Morale was low. People didn't know if they'd have jobs next month. The Japanese economy was still crushed from the war. But there was one thing still alive. The name Toyota still meant something. It stood for persistence, discipline, and honor, even in failure. And slowly, a few people inside the company refused to let it die. One of those people was Eiji Toyota, the cousin of Kiichiro Toyota. Who was Eiji Toyota? Eiji Toyota wasn't loud. He wasn't famous. But he was smart, strategic, and obsessed with improvement. He joined Toyota in the early 1930s and had worked closely with Kiichiro. Now he took on the impossible mission: bring Toyota back to life, no matter what. But how? The company had no money. They couldn't compete with American cars. Japan's roads were terrible, and customers had lost trust. They needed something radical, and surprisingly, it came from their former enemy, America. In June 1950, just a few months after Kiichiro's death, something shocking happened. The Korean War began. The United States needed thousands of trucks and vehicles to move soldiers and equipment through Korea. They turned to Japan, the closest supplier. And guess who got the contract? Toyota. Suddenly, this dying company had a lifeline. They were asked to supply over 5,000 military trucks for the U.S. Army. This contract brought millions of dollars in cash flow. And more importantly, it gave Toyota a chance to restart. Imagine that. A war destroyed them. And now, a war was saving them. Toyota quickly designed and built robust military trucks with strong frames, off-road tires, and simple mechanics. No luxury, just reliability. The U.S. military loved the trucks. They were tough, durable, and easy to fix. This moment gave Toyota cash, experience, and respect. And inside the company, something was changing. Eiji Toyota realized, if we want to compete with Ford or GM, we can't just copy them. We have to build something better. And to do that, he had to study the best. So he did something bold. 1950. Eiji Toyota visits Ford Motor Company in the U.S. Eiji Toyota visited the Ford factory in Detroit, Michigan, the headquarters of the global car empire. At that time, Ford was producing 8,000 cars per day. Toyota was making less than 100 cars per month. But Eiji didn't feel small. He felt curious. He walked through the Ford assembly lines, took notes, observed systems, and thought, how can we do this? With less money, fewer people, and better quality. He came back to Japan with a simple idea that would change history. Eiji Toyota and engineer Taiichi Ono sat down and said, let's build a system that eliminates waste. Let's build cars that don't break. Let's make production smart, not just fast. And together, they created the world-famous Toyota Production System, TPS. It had two main principles. 1. Just in time, don't keep huge stock. Get what you need, when you need it, in the exact quantity. This saved space, money, and time. 2. Jidoka, automation with a human touch. If a machine finds a problem, it stops automatically. This meant no defects moved forward in the process. Every worker had the power to stop the production line if they saw a mistake. In most companies, workers were told, keep going. At Toyota, they were told, stop it, fix it, then move. This system made Toyota faster, smarter, and better than anyone else, without needing billions of dollars. After rebuilding the factory, after redesigning the process, after learning from failure, Toyota released its first true passenger car in 1955, Toyota Crown. This was a bold move. Until now, Toyota had mostly made trucks, buses, and simple vehicles. The Crown was different, comfortable, smooth engine, designed for Japanese roads, and most importantly, fully made in Japan. The Crown was a symbol of pride. For the first time, middle-class Japanese families could own a car that felt reliable, modern, and proud. Toyota made another huge move. They decided to enter the US market. Think about that. A small Japanese company trying to sell cars in America, the land of Ford, GM, and huge highways. People laughed. They said, "No one will buy a Japanese car in America." But Toyota didn't listen. In 1957, they opened their first American headquarters in Hollywood, California, and exported the Toyota Crown to the US. But there was a problem. The Toyota Crown failed badly in the US. Why? It was too slow for American highways. It overheated quickly. It didn't fit American tastes. Mechanics didn't know how to repair it. Sales were terrible. But Toyota didn't quit. Instead of giving up, they said, "Let's listen. Let's learn. Let's improve." And that mindset would soon transform everything. Back home, something amazing was happening. Japan's economy was recovering. More people had jobs. Roads were improving. Families wanted affordable cars. Toyota focused on low-cost, high-quality vehicles, and sales exploded. By 1962, Toyota had made its 1 millionth vehicle. That's right. From almost bankruptcy in 1950 to 1 million vehicles by 1962. This was the power of Kaizen, the Japanese word for continuous improvement. Toyota was still not a major global company. They had no popular cars in America. People still said Japanese cars are small, slow, and weak. And that's when Toyota decided, we need to build a car for the whole world. A car that is affordable, reliable, and unstoppable. And so, they began to design a legend. Eiji Toyota and his team sat down and asked one question. What kind of car does the average family need? Not a sports car, not a luxury car, not a military truck, but a car that could carry a small family, was cheap to maintain, used less fuel, could survive for decades, was easy to repair anywhere in the world, and so began the creation of a car that would change the future. Birth of the Toyota Corolla. The name Corolla comes from Latin. It means small crown, a little brother to the Toyota Crown. But what Corolla achieved was nothing small. It was compact, fuel-efficient, inexpensive, easy to drive, easy to fix, and built with incredible precision. In October 1966, the first-generation Toyota Corolla was released in Japan, and the world didn't know yet that this car would become the best-selling car in history. Toyota had learned from their past failure. They made the Corolla stronger, faster, and more suited for American roads. And in 1968, they launched it in the US. But this time, people didn't laugh. They were curious. Gas prices were rising. People were tired of big cars with low mileage. And the Corolla? It gave 32 miles per gallon, cost less than $1,700, and never broke down. In just 2 years, Corolla became a hit in the US. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't sexy, but it was perfectly reliable. And that made it a winner. With Corolla's success, Toyota's income grew fast. 1965, less than $1 billion revenue. 1970, over $3 billion. 1975, almost $10 billion. 1980, over $25 billion. That's the power of one great product done right. But Toyota didn't stop. Between 1966 and 1980, Toyota released multiple new Corolla models, improved fuel efficiency, improved suspension, brakes, safety features, built more production plants, focused on continuous improvement, Kaizen, added quality control teams at every level, launched Toyota Hiace, Toyota Celica, Toyota Land Cruiser updates. They weren't just growing, They were becoming a global standard. Toyota began building factories and branches in Thailand, Australia, Philippines, Indonesia, Germany, Canada. Instead of shipping every car from Japan, they said, "Let's build where the customer lives." This made cars cheaper to deliver, created local jobs, and built trust in every region. Toyota wasn't just selling cars, it was building partnerships with countries. By the 1970s, Toyota developed a strong internal culture known as the Toyota Way. It had 4 key principles. 1. Continuous improvement, Kaizen. 2. Respect for people. 3. Long-term vision over short-term profit. 4. Go and see for yourself, Genshi Genbutsu. Toyota believed, don't make decisions in a meeting room. Go to the factory. See it with your own eyes. This made every manager, every engineer, every leader stay close to reality, not just numbers. In 1973, a global oil crisis shocked the world. Fuel prices went very high. Big cars from Ford, GM, and Chrysler were suddenly too expensive to drive. But Toyota? Their cars were fuel-efficient, light, and affordable. Sales of Toyota cars in America skyrocketed during this period. Suddenly, Toyota was no longer the cheap car from Japan. It became the smart car for smart people. By 1974, the Toyota Corolla had officially become the best-selling car in the world by units sold annually. Year after year, Corolla kept improving. By the 1980s, Corolla was being produced in more than 15 countries and sold in more than 150 countries and had sold over 10 million units worldwide. No other car had achieved that. And even today, Toyota Corolla has sold over 50 million units, more than any other car model in human history. That's not just a car, that's immortality. Now here comes another shocker. In 1984, Toyota and GM, General Motors, became partners. They opened a joint factory in California called NUMMI, where Toyota taught GM how to use the Toyota production system. Imagine that. The American giant that once laughed at Toyota was now learning from them. This partnership helped Toyota localize its operations, understand the US market better, and hire American workers to build Japanese cars on American soil. It was a brilliant move. By the late 1980s, Toyota was selling millions of vehicles in North America, outselling many American brands, known for quality, reliability, and resale value, gaining massive loyalty from customers. Car experts and media started saying, if you want a car that lasts 20 years, get a Toyota. This brand was now becoming part of people's families. Part 3. The Lexus gamble and Toyota's rise to the top of the world. The Corolla became the best-selling car in the world. Toyota became one of the top 3 car brands in America. Their production system was being copied around the world. Their US partnerships were growing. Their cars were trusted for fuel efficiency, reliability, and simplicity. But there was still one world left to conquer. A world dominated by giants like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, Cadillac, the luxury car market. And people believed one thing: Japanese companies are good for cheap cars. But they can never compete in luxury. Toyota heard that. And they smiled. Because deep inside their headquarters in Japan, they were already building a secret weapon. No, not Formula One racing. This F1 stood for Flagship One, a secret mission to build the world's best luxury car from zero. Not just another Toyota model, but a new brand. Something that could beat Mercedes-Benz on luxury, beat BMW on performance, beat Cadillac on smoothness, and beat everyone on price, quality, and experience. They didn't want to copy the best. They wanted to become the new standard. In 1983, Toyota chairman Eiji Toyota called a secret meeting and said, "Can we create a luxury car that will compete with the world's best?" There was silence. Then someone said, "We don't know." Eiji replied, "Then let's find out." This was not a marketing stunt. It was Toyota's biggest project ever, and they gave it everything. Over 1,400 engineers, over 2,000 technicians, $1 billion budget in the 1980s dollars, 450 prototypes, over 2 million test miles, no shortcuts, no recycling parts from other Toyotas. They started from a blank page. This wasn't just about making a car. It was about challenging perfection. Examples? Engineers tested doors opening and closing over 20,000 times. They designed a new engine from scratch. Quiet, smooth, powerful. They tested wind noise using Japanese bullet train tunnels. They tuned the sound system with professional musicians. They tested the car in Arctic cold, African heat, and American highways. Every screw, every seat, every light was tested for perfection. This wasn't a car anymore. It was a statement. But there was one big problem. They couldn't launch this as Toyota. Why? Because even though people respected Toyota, they didn't see it as luxury. So Toyota did something brilliant. They created a completely new brand, with no name, no history, no legacy, only performance. After 6 years of development, the car was ready. Toyota named the new brand Lexus, a name that sounded modern, futuristic, clean, elegant. Some say it came from the words luxury plus elegance plus US, United States. And the car? It was called the Lexus LS 400. It was a four-door sedan, but not just any sedan. It had a V8 engine with 250 horsepower, a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 8.5 seconds, near zero cabin noise, automatic tilt steering, memory seats, an advanced anti-lock braking system, and perfect suspension that felt like flying. And the price? Only $35,000. Compare that to a Mercedes S-Class, which cost $60,000 plus, and was louder, heavier, and less fuel efficient. The moment arrived. Car magazines and auto journalists lined up to test the Lexus. And what happened? They were blown away. Headlines said, "Lexus changes everything. Luxury will never be the same. The Japanese have arrived." And they're serious. People couldn't believe this car was Toyota's creation. Sales exploded. That's a huge number for a luxury brand with zero history. It beat BMW, it beat Mercedes, and it shocked Detroit. In its very first year, Lexus became the #1 luxury import brand in America. In just 2 years, Lexus was outselling BMW, Audi, Jaguar, Cadillac in some regions. And Toyota proved the world wrong. Again, Toyota didn't stop with one car. They released Lexus ES, affordable luxury, Lexus RX, luxury SUV, Lexus SC sports coupe, Lexus LX off-road luxury. And in every country they entered, they gave the same experience. Top quality dealerships, white glove service, silence, comfort, durability, and cars that lasted 20 plus years. People were now saying, why buy a Mercedes when I can get a better Lexus for less? Throughout the 1990s, Lexus won Car of the Year awards. Lexus topped reliability rankings, J.D. Power Consumer Reports. Lexus became a status symbol even in Hollywood. Lexus dominated North America, Australia, and Asia. Celebrities, politicians, athletes all started driving Lexuses. Toyota had done it. They had built a luxury empire without sacrificing their values: simplicity, reliability, respect for the customer, long-term thinking. By the end of the 1990s, Toyota's total annual revenue crossed $100 billion. They were selling over 5 million vehicles per year. Lexus was leading the luxury category in the US. Toyota had factories in over 27 countries. They were exporting to 170-plus countries. They weren't just a car company now. Toyota was a global movement. For most companies, this would be the finish line. But for Toyota, this was the starting point of a new race. Because in the 1990s, a new crisis was growing. The world was getting worried. Climate change was becoming real. Air pollution was rising in big cities. Fossil fuels were getting expensive. The world was using too much oil. Scientists warned, the planet cannot survive if we keep burning gas forever. And Toyota saw the signs. They asked themselves, if we are the world's biggest car company, shouldn't we also be the most responsible? In 1993, Toyota began working on a radical idea. A car that would use less gasoline, emit less pollution, be affordable, and still work like a normal car. Not a solar car, not a science experiment, but a car that everyday people could drive and save the planet without even thinking about it. Toyota's engineers created a new type of engine system: hybrid. What is a hybrid car? It's a car that has 1. A gasoline engine. 2. An electric motor. 3. A battery that stores energy. 4. A smart computer system that switches between the two. How does it work? When you drive slowly or stop in traffic, the electric motor works. When you need power or speed, the gasoline engine starts. When you brake, the car captures energy and stores it in the battery, called regenerative braking. The car decides when to switch, so you don't need to do anything. Result? Less gas used, fewer emissions, lower fuel bills, a smoother, quieter ride. It was genius. But it was also risky. No one had ever done this before. When Toyota announced it was building a hybrid car, critics laughed. It's too complicated. It will be too expensive. People won't understand it. Nobody wants electric cars. You're a car company, not an energy company. But Toyota ignored the noise. They remembered the same thing was said about the Corolla, the Camry, the Lexus LS 400. And yet, all of those became global icons, so they went ahead. And in 1997, the word Prius means to go before in Latin, and it truly did go before everything. The Toyota Prius was launched first in Japan, and it was a game changer. Fuel efficiency, over 50 miles per gallon. Emissions, almost zero in city driving. Cost, around $20,000, affordable for families. Design, simple, aerodynamic, modern. Interior, quiet, smooth, and futuristic. People in Japan were amazed. But Toyota wasn't satisfied. They wanted to bring it to the world. In the year 2000, Toyota launched the Prius in America and Europe. At first, it was slow. People were confused. Is it electric? Do I have to charge it? Will it stop working in winter? Will I get electrocuted? But slowly, people started to understand. Then something magical happened. In the early 2000s, celebrities started buying Priuses. Leonardo DiCaprio, Cameron Diaz, Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks, Brad Pitt. These stars drove the Prius to red carpet events. They talked about saving the planet. They said, "This is the future." And suddenly, the Prius became a status symbol. Not for luxury, but for conscience. It was the cool car for smart people. From 2000 to 2010, Prius became one of the fastest-growing car models in the world. By the end of 2010, Toyota had sold over 2 million Priuses globally. Prius became the best-selling hybrid car in history. Toyota was saving over 1.5 billion gallons of gasoline per year. Millions of tons of carbon emissions were avoided. Fuel savings for customers reached over $5 billion per year. And more importantly, every car company started copying Toyota. After Prius, Toyota launched Camry Hybrid, Highlander Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, Lexus RX Hybrid, Lexus LS Hybrid, and more. They invested billions into hybrid technology, battery research, and emissions control. They weren't just making green cars, they were building a green philosophy. Toyota set goals for the next decades: zero emissions from production factories, 100% hybrid or electric lineup by 2050, recycling water, metal, and energy, using solar power in plants, promoting sustainability education across Japan. They didn't want to just make cars, they wanted to become a climate leader. In late 2009, a tragedy happened in California, USA. A family driving a Lexus ES350 lost control of their vehicle. The car accelerated on its own. The brakes didn't respond. The car crashed. The entire family died. A 911 call recorded the final seconds. It was heartbreaking. It shocked the nation. This was not just a car crash. This was the beginning of a storm. Soon, more reports came out. Cars accelerating on their own, brakes not working, floor mats getting stuck, electronic problems in hybrids, drivers reporting panic and near-death experiences. The headlines exploded. Is Toyota killing people? World's #1 car maker in big trouble. Recall crisis. Can Toyota be trusted? In less than 60 days, Toyota's brand went from perfect to questioned. People were scared. Governments got involved. Investigations began, and Toyota was silent. But not because they were hiding. They were listening, analyzing, and understanding. Between 2009 and 2010, Toyota recalled over 9 million vehicles across the globe, spent more than $2 billion fixing affected cars, lost over $30 billion in stock value, faced over 300 lawsuits, was investigated by the U.S. Congress, was fined $1.2 billion by the U.S. Department of Justice. It was the biggest recall in automotive history. Toyota's clean image was cracked. Amid the chaos, one man stepped onto the world stage. Akio Toyoda, the grandson of Kiichiro Toyota, the original founder. He had become president in 2009, just before the storm. He was soft-spoken, humble, and not media-trained. But he was honest, and he did something most CEOs wouldn't do. On February 24, 2010, Akio Toyoda appeared before the U.S. Congress. Live cameras, angry politicians, victims' families in the room. The world was watching. And Akio Toyoda said, "I am deeply sorry for any accident Toyota drivers have experienced. I take full responsibility. I am the grandson of the founder. Toyota has always put the customer first. But in our push for growth, we lost that focus. We are deeply sorry." His voice cracked. His eyes filled with tears. He bowed. It was not a performance. It was pain, real, human, heartbreaking. And in that moment, people saw the soul of Toyota, a company that wasn't hiding, but one that had the courage to apologize in front of the entire world. After the apology, Toyota didn't hide behind lawyers. They went back to work. They created new quality control teams, hired thousands of independent testers, built real-time alert systems inside cars, invested over $5 billion in safety innovation, launched a global training program to reconnect engineers with the Toyota way, slowed down their growth to rebuild their soul. While other companies used scandals to cut corners, Toyota used it to rebuild their identity. By 2012, Toyota had regained public trust. Their new cars were safer, smarter, more responsive, more thoroughly tested, and they introduced even more innovations. Toyota Safety Sense, auto brake, lane assist, radar. Hydrogen-powered cars like the Toyota Mirai. Electric car development programs. New global platform, TNGA, Toyota New Global Architecture. Their hybrid sales crossed 10 million units. Their Prius became the world's symbol of sustainability. Their revenue climbed back to over $275 billion per year. They were back, not as heroes, but as humans who fell and stood up with grace. Toyota's not stopping. They are now investing in solid-state batteries, charge in 10 minutes, fully electric cars across all brands, self-driving technology, robots for the elderly, flying cars, concept, smart cities. In 2021, Toyota began building a prototype city in Japan called Woven City, where cars, homes, and life are powered by clean energy and AI. This is not science fiction. This is Toyota's next vision, a future where mobility is for everyone. A world where cars don't just move people, but improve their lives. Let this story stay in your heart, because it's not just about business. It's about becoming better, no matter how good you already are. Here's what Toyota teaches us. 1. You can start from nothing. From a poor boy building wooden looms, to a global company worth hundreds of billions. Never say, I don't have enough. Say, what can I build with what I have? 2. Innovate quietly. Let results be loud. Toyota didn't fight competition with words. They built Corolla, Camry, Lexus, Prius. Let your work be your voice. 3. Apologize, fix, improve. When you make a mistake, don't hide. Accept it. Apologize. Then rebuild with double the heart. 4. Think 50 years ahead. While others chase fast profits, Toyota builds for the next generation. What you build today will speak for you after you're gone. 5. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Toyota takes time, but they don't stop. You don't have to move fast. You just have to move forward, without stopping. Today, Toyota by the numbers. Over 370,000 employees. Operating in over 170 countries. Annual revenue, over $275 billion. Over 12 million cars sold per year. World's #1 automaker, by many rankings. Over 20 million hybrid vehicles sold. Over 50 million Toyota Corollas sold. And a legacy of honor, excellence, and humility. This was not just a company story. This was a human story. A story of a boy who watched his mother weaving on a broken loom. A son who dared to sell his father's invention to chase a new dream. A brand that rose from war, survived failure, and led the Green Revolution. A company that cried in front of the world and then stood up again. Toyota is not just a car company. Toyota is a philosophy. And that's why this is not just the best success story in the world. It's a story that deserves to be remembered forever. If this story inspired you, please subscribe. Please share this with someone who needs hope, motivation, and purpose. And remember, from silence, from failure, from nothing, you can build something that moves the world.